Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over the New England Patriots. We're going to be looking at the quarterback position for them and some possible targets that they can go after this offseason. Before we get started, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. That would help my channel grow. With that said, let's dive right into the video, and I hope you enjoy. So before we get started, I just wanted to say I was reading an article on the New England Patriots and what they might be doing at quarterback this offseason, and I thought that I just want to, share my take on this article and some of my predictions and my analysis on, what the article was saying, and I thought you guys would enjoy that. And with that said, let's dive right into it. So here's the article I was referencing. It's basically the Patriots missed out on Matthew Stafford. Here are 13 options at quarterback. I'm just going to run through these options. I'm just going to give my thoughts and my takes. I thought that would be interesting. And with that said, let's just go into it. Let's dive right into it. So with Matthew Stafford, obviously, he said that any team he wanted to go to other than the Patriots. And let's start here. Obviously, the Patriots are in dire need of a quarterback. Cam Newton was not the option or the answer at quarterback this season. He was not good for them, could not move them down the field. But I think the Patriots have a lot of holes on this roster. This is a rebuilding team. So let's just run through these guys and just see what's going to happen here. So the first one I want to talk about is Deshaun Watson. And obviously, the Deshaun Watson rumors keep on heating up, right? The Texans don't want to trade him. And how funny would that be if, the Texans' new GM, who was in the Patriots, front office for a while, would trade him back to New England. That would be hilarious. It'd be similar to like a Derek Jeter situation where he traded Giancarlo Stanton back to the Yankees. But nonetheless, the Texans don't want to trade Deshaun Watson. However, the Patriots, I don't think, have the assets to go out and get Deshaun Watson. Sure, they have the 15th overall pick. Sure, they've got draft capital that they could give up, a first this year, first next year, maybe a second round or two, throw in a few other players, and maybe you have a chance at Deshaun Watson. However, I think that Deshaun Watson really is not a viable option for Bill Belichick and the Patriots. And here's why. I think that that's just too much, right? The Patriots can go out and get another solid quarterback. If it's in the draft, it's in free agency, if it's via trade. But I think Watson is just too valuable, right? The Patriots have a lot of holes on this roster, and it's not like the Patriots are, an 8, 9, 10 win team right now. Who are an elite quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. If you're like that, then you make a Rams kind of trade where you go out and trade for Matthew Stafford, who's really going to take your team over the edge. Deshaun Watson's not going to do that with the Patriots. I mean, with Deshaun Watson, the Patriots might be an 8-win team, but they have a lot of holes in this roster. So I don't really like Deshaun Watson as a fit. The next one I'm going to run through is Dak Prescott. Okay, Prescott, if the Cowboys choose not to re-sign him, which I think would be absolutely crazy. Obviously, he's coming off a big season-ending injury this season, but nonetheless, Prescott is still one of the NFL's better quarterbacks, top 10 in that regard, and the Patriots would have to give out a lot of money for him. Obviously, they can get that done. They're the Patriots. Definitely Dak in New England would be a weird situation, but nonetheless, I still think there are better options out there. The next guy I want to talk about is Derek Carr. Rumors have it that he might be available for trade. He's been really good over the past 1, 2, 3-ish seasons. I thought that he played really well this year, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know how much you're going to have to give up for a guy like Derek Carr. I'm definitely guessing a second-round pick would have to be involved, maybe even a first, add some players. And I don't even know if the Raiders would really want to do that. It is, a possibility, but once again, I don't think this is a viable option. This is the first one that I really, really, really like, and this is Mac Jones. So they have the 15th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, and as they say here, Yahoo Sports here, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance are gonna be gone at this point. If Trey Lance is there, I don't even know if you take him because, he's not really ready for the NFL right now. Mac Jones, on the other hand, he was at the Senior Bowl. The Patriots said that they really got to know him well. I think Mac Jones said that. And I think this would be a fantastic fit. In a way, Mac Jones kind of reminds me of Brady. He's not super athletic, not super mobile, not super great, physically. But what he has is that great accuracy, that great arm strength, that, really good football IQ. And I think Mac Jones would be a great fit in New England. By far, this is my favorite one so far. Really like Mac Jones. And in my mock drafts that I'm going to be doing in the next few weeks, next 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe even next month, I'm going to probably have Mac Jones going to the Patriots. For me, it's one of those like lock-in picks that I just think is going to make sense, because if the Patriots don't make a trade for someone, they don't go out and sign someone in free agency, I think the draft is a great opportunity, especially because they have a pretty high overall pick. Maybe they trade this year's first and next year's first, or this year's first and this year's second for a higher first round pick to go up and get maybe a guy like Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, or Lance. But at 15, I think Mac Jones will, 1, be there, and 2, I think he'd be a great fit in New England. The other one, let's keep on going through these. Cam Newton. Okay, obviously he's going to be a free agent. The Patriots signed him for next to nothing last season. I don't think this is an option whatsoever. Newton was bad with the Patriots. They need to go a different route. It's that simple. Newton is not going to go back to the Patriots. I just don't think it makes sense for the Patriots. It doesn't make sense for Newton. It's just, it didn't work out last year. What's going to make it work this year? The next guy I want to talk about is Jameis Winston, and I like this a lot. A lot, low-key. However, the Saints are probably going to want to re-sign him. They've talked about that a lot. If you're a Saints fan, if you're a fan of the NFL, you'll know that the Saints definitely want to keep Jameis Winston around. They love what he was able to do last year with the team. Although he didn't play a lot, he was a big part of that locker room, big part of that quarterback room. And he's a guy that, a guy like Sean Payton really believes that he can, train and get better and, be a really good quarterback. I think Winston has a lot left in the tank. Obviously, the Saints are not going to give him tons of money because they also have Taysom Hill. I think that we'll see some sort of, 2-quarterback system, maybe Taysom Hill running it, maybe a little bit of Jameis Winston. We'll see something with both quarterbacks, I think, next year in New Orleans. And that means that the Patriots, if they offer Jameis Winston somewhere around $15 million, I think they could get a deal done. Similarly with Cam Newton, obviously, they gave him nothing. The guy like Jameis Winston is deserving of, a starting quarterback in the NFL. Sure, he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions only 2 years ago, but he still threw 30 touchdowns. I mean, that's hard to do in this day, in today's NFL. Even when quarterbacks are throwing the ball more than ever, it's still really hard to do. So nonetheless, I think Jameis Winston, in New England would be one of the dream fits for him. I think he'd be really good in New England, because he's not afraid to throw that football, and I think he needs another chance, and New England would be a good place to do that. However, for New England's perspective, they see the upside, they see the 30 touchdown productions, they obviously don't like the interceptions. That was really never a problem with Tom Brady. They never really had big interception totals, but nonetheless, I think Winston, if he's really better than he was in Tampa Bay, the Patriots should definitely take a shot at him. The next guy I want to look at is Teddy Bridgewater. The Panthers could go for a quarterback in the NFL draft. Obviously, they signed Bridgewater to a 4-year deal for a lot of money last offseason, to be that, bridge sort of quarterback, but semi-starter, semi-bridge quarterback. And he had a up and down year. He looked good early, struggled late. That's kind of what his season was at the end of the day. But nonetheless, I like a guy like Teddy Bridgewater a lot. I just don't think he's a good fit in New England. He doesn't have that elite upside. He doesn't have that great upside that you could get from younger quarterbacks, even a guy like Mitch Trubisky that we'll talk about in a second. So with that said, I just don't think Bridgewater's a viable option. You don't really want to take on his contract. I don't think that's a good contract for a team like the Patriots. But I mean, if you get him for a 3rd-round pick, maybe you talk about it. But nonetheless, I think there are just better quarterbacks available this offseason to really take a deep dive and look at. The next quarterback I want to talk is Trubisky. He's going to be a free agent, and Trubisky did a good job at the end of the year, as it says, selling himself to Chicago in the final stretch of the season. I think he did a very good job. He played well against Jacksonville. I thought he didn't play that badly against the Saints in the playoffs. He just didn't have really weapons. It was a whole thing. Offensive line is horrendous there in Chicago. But nonetheless, I think Trubisky deserves a second chance. Is it with the Patriots? I think what the Patriots want to go after is a guy who's, already established in the NFL. A guy who, can really play. And Trubisky, he's established himself in the NFL as a starting quarterback, but he's not established himself as a great starting quarterback, a great leader, a great player. And I don't think Trubisky, having a lot of success in those last 2-3 games of, last season is enough for him to earn a starting job with the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are going to want to run that risk reward. They did that with Newton. It didn't work out. So I don't think Trubisky is a really good fit in New England. Sorry if that cut out there for a second, but the next guy I want to talk about, and I guess I'll talk about both of these together, Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett. Obviously, both are former New England quarterbacks, and I think both of them would fit to some extent in that New England system, right? They're both familiar with Josh McDaniels. Jimmy Garoppolo did a good job in New England when Tom Brady was out for those first 4 weeks back, I think in 2016 with the whole Deflategate scandal. Don't quote me, it was 2016. I don't know if it was 2016 or 2015. I don't really remember. But nonetheless, I mean, Jimmy G back in New England, that's something that I would love to see. I think his conservative play, his accurate passing, his ability to throw the deep ball, he's good with below average receivers. I mean, he doesn't have great receivers in San Francisco, but he was able to really succeed there. But nonetheless, I mean, Garoppolo, what he was able to do in San Francisco, he led the team to a Super Bowl, so he's got that ability. And I mean, the Patriots need to add pieces to that team. Garoppolo, I don't think is worth a 1st or a 2nd round pick, but if you can get him for a 3rd and maybe a player, maybe add a future 2nd in there, and you can get a deal done semi-cheaply to send him back to New England, I think that would be a dream fit for the Patriots. You get a quarterback that already has had success in New England, who already has been to Super Bowls, played for championships, been in that kind of locker room environment. That would be perfect for the Patriots. Likewise, Jacoby Brissett is a very good option too, right? I mean, this guy is, a guy who hasn't really been able to establish himself as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's never really been that guy, but he's been a fringe starter, slightly better than a fringe starter throughout his career in the NFL. And I think, if the Patriots want a bridge quarterback, they don't like where they are at in this quarterback, maybe they sign him out of free agency, right? They signed Jacoby Brissett out of free agency. They pick Mac Jones, let Mac Jones sit for a year, use Brissett as a bridge quarterback for a year. That's definitely an option. However, I don't think Brissett is a long-term fix at quarterback. Garoppolo could be. He's, in a good season, a borderline top 12 quarterback in the NFL. And I said borderline, okay? Hold up for a second. I said borderline. But nonetheless, I think Garoppolo is a good option. Brissett is more of a bridge option. And then there's a few more down here that I want to quickly talk about. Tyrod Taylor, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't like either of these guys. I don't think Taylor has enough upside to really be a guy for the next 2-3 years. Fitzpatrick is dwindling in his career. That would be interesting, though, because then he would have played for the Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Patriots. That would be interesting to watch. But once again, I think Fitzpatrick, I don't really know if he will end up getting a job. He might get a job as a backup. I don't think he's really a starter in the NFL, although he did play well with the Dolphins. I think, he's aging. He turns the football over quite a bit when he's throwing. That's not something that the Patriots like. And the last guy I want to talk about is Sam Darnold. And this is a really interesting one for me, because Darnold is not a player that I think is going to be good, but that's because I've seen him with the Jets. Put him in the Patriots, put him in a Patriots jersey, put him in a new environment. Maybe he can get the job done. You know what? Maybe you trade some high draft picks, a little bit of players, a little bit of cash to the New York Jets. You get Sam Darnold in the building, and you see what he's all about. This guy coming out of college had great arm talent, great. He was a great prospect coming out of USC. He did a lot of good things there, and I think he's done some good things with the New York Jets. Yet at the end of the day, if you watched my Sam Darnold film breakdown video, I don't think he's much better than a mid-level with some little bit of upside quarterback. I think at the in his best season, or I don't think he's had a really good season, but I think his upper limit is probably a top 16 to 18 quarterback in the NFL. And once again, I just don't think the Patriots are in that. The Patriots know they need a top quarterback to go into the playoffs each year in and year out. And they did that with Tom Brady. Bill Belichick knows that's what it takes to get it done. Darnold isn't that guy. Fitzpatrick isn't that guy. Tyrod Taylor isn't that guy. Jacoby Brissett isn't that guy. Jimmy G isn't that guy either, but he has proven he can get the job done before in his career. He's led a team to the Super Bowl. He's been in Super Bowl locker rooms throughout his career. So I think that's an option. Trubisky isn't that guy. Bridgewater isn't that guy. Jameis Winston has a lot of upside. The interception problems are a real issue. So that's something interesting. Newton definitely showed last year, wasn't that guy. Mac Jones, 100% could be that guy, but we don't know yet. I would like to see him start in 2021. I think that would be a good thing for him, and I like the Patriots as one of his landing spots. So in really my opinion, I like Mac Jones a lot as that number one option. I really like Jimmy Garoppolo too. Derek Carr I don't think is going to be really a fit for that Patriots team. Prescott is going to stay with the Cowboys, and I don't think the Patriots it's not really worth it for them to give up a ton of draft capital, 2 first-round picks, another future first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick for a guy like Deshaun Watson. So really, if you're the Patriots, and I'm the Patriots GM for a second, I would really take a long look at Mac Jones. I would take a long look at the quarterbacks in this NFL draft. Maybe if you guys like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or a Zach Wilson, I don't think you're going to be able to get Trevor Lawrence. Then maybe trade up, okay? Maybe trade up for one of those guys. But nonetheless, I really like Jimmy Garoppolo as my number one choice if the Mac Jones draft choice doesn't work out. So really for me, it's either go get a quarterback in the NFL draft or go look and see what Jimmy Garoppolo, what that asking price for the San Francisco 49ers is for Jimmy Garoppolo. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, see ya.